Let's do a quick review of some of the JavaScript that we learned in class. We're going to begin by creating a simple title and then creating my script tags. Of course, going to do the end script tag right away so I don't forget that later. And, these tags tell the browser that we're about to write some JavaScript code. Let's kind of begin by doing a simple string variable. And we can print this string by using the commonly used document.write and then my first variable. Let's quick save that, Control S, and then give that a test. You can see that we created our first variable and we successfully wrote that to the HTML page. Going back, let's try an integer. Create another variable. Be simple and call it num2. We're going to say num2 equals num times itself. Let's write that out. Document.write num2. You can say these are numeric variables. We're doing a simple multiplication, 10 times 10. We saved it. We're going to have a test. And there we go. Now it's still kind of attached to my first printed variable, hello world, so I'm going to put a breakpoint in my write statement so we can put these on separate lines. So we'll do a variable plus a little HTML and putting that in quotes, put a little breakpoint in there. Break tags are a little different because you don't need a begin and an end tag. All you need is the single tag. So we'll test that. There we go. So now we have our num2 variable printed on a second line. Now let's get a little more complicated. Obviously, these variables that we've been working with, they only can hold a single data value. So if we want to hold more than a single data value, then we begin working with arrays. So let's create our first array. And before I do that, I'm just going to comment out some of this code. You can see that by the / asterisk and asterisk / that ends my comment. You can see that once I do that, these end tags all change color, so I know they're active again. So we create our first array variable. We begin that with variable my array equals, and let's do fruits, apple, orange, banana, grape, and lemon. So we can print arrays just like we print regular variables. So let's just document write my array. Give that a test. Here we go. So it wrote the entire array. So we have 5 values, and it's comma delimited. Good. Now let's say we just want to print one of those values. So what we can do is actually give it the index. So the individual items in the array are identified by the index. If we want to print, let's say, banana, we'd have to say print item 2. Now remember, why 2? Because we actually start with 0 when we're counting items in an array. So 0, 1, and 2. So let's make sure we have that right. Go ahead and test. And we did it. We printed banana. Alright, let's go back. Now let's say we want to perform a function on this array. We can actually do a sort function. Let's do myArray.sort. And this requires open parenthesis and a close parenthesis. And just like brackets, for every open we have a close. Same with parentheses, so we have 2 open parentheses, we're going to have 2 closed parentheses. So that's been saved. We'll test that. The sort function, and it just sorted our array in alphabetical order, A, B, G, L, O. And we go back, and let's try the reverse method. Save that. And you can see it reversed the order. Pretty cool. Now let's try one more fun trick with arrays. We'll do .length. This will come in handy in the next exercise. Refresh. We have the length of 5. So you can see it counted each of the items in the array, and there are in fact 5 items. Very cool. Now there's multiple ways you can create arrays. This is one of the most easy ways. You can read more in the array chapter if you'd like to play around with different ways to create arrays. But for right now, we're going to move on and go to if statements, work with conditions. So let's say if 1 is greater than 2, we need our open brace. Right away, let's do our close brace, so don't forget. If 1 is greater than 2, document.write that is true. Save this, and I'm actually going to move my end comment down a little bit so we no longer are printing the array. So because this is obviously not true, we're not going to print what's in between these braces. Since the condition is false, none of this is going to happen. So we go and test that to make sure that's true. You can see we return nothing in our HTML page. Now the cool thing is we can actually work with variables. So let's create a couple of variables. Variable foo equals 20. Variable bar equals 40. And we'll say if bar is greater than foo, document write that is true. So obviously we're pretty much asking if 40 is greater than foo, print that is true. So here we go. Give it a test. Of course. That's fun. Now this time let's actually ask the user. So let's try the prompt variable. So variable user input equals prompt. So we're doing the prompt function. The prompt function has 2 parameters. The first one is what are we going to ask the user? Please enter a number less than 10. And the second parameter is the default. We're not going to enter default. So whatever they enter into the prompt is going to become our user input variable. And now we're going to play with that with our if statement. So let's say if user input is less than, let's match our question to the user. If user input is less than 10, we'll write good job. But if it's not, let's do something. Let's create an else statement. So we can continue off this if statement and say else. So they do not, if this is not true, document.write, whoops, you messed up. Of course, because we have two open braces, we have to have two closed braces. There we go. So if this statement is, if the user's input is actually less than 10, so if this condition is true, we're going to write good job. Else, if the condition is false, we're going to write this. So let's give it a try. Go back to our page here. You can see I've been prompted to enter a number less than 10. I'm going to enter 11. Whoops, you messed up. Perfect. Refresh again, enter a number less than 10. We'll say 8. Alright, cool. That was simple. Alright, so let's try something else. Let's go try a while loop. While loops are kind of fun. So let's first create a numeric value. Var num equals 0. Create our for loop. So for variable x equals 0, x is less than my array dot length. Alright, let's try a case statement. Let's try to have a little fun with it. So first we're going to prompt the user for their favorite color. What is your favorite color? We're not going to give them a default. And we're going to set the answer as a new variable. And then we're also going to write favorite color. It's kind of like our header. Let's put some header lines in here. H1 and H1. Perfect. So now to the case statement. We always start with a switch, and our condition here is going to be favorite color. We have our open curly brace. We start with our first case. The user answers red. We're going to document.write red, and then we're going to have a little fun and do document.background color equals red. There we go. And now to end this case, we do a break. And we go to the next case. Pretty much copy the first one, just add a different color. Remember, it's a colon, not a semicolon, so be careful there. Spell case right. Document.write blue. Document background color equals blue. And a break. For the third color, I'm just going to copy and paste. To save time, and just replace blue with green. Simple as that. Alright. Save. Oh, almost forgot my end brace there. Perfect. Everything's looking good. Let's give it a try. So we're going to test this. What is your favorite color? Say my favorite color is red. So we have a header line here. and we have the color red. Let's refresh, do one more, say green. Look at that, the case was green. And so it works. Alright, so now we're going to work with loops. So I'm going to delete my case statement here. I'm also going to get rid of the header. And I'm going to uncomment my array with all the fruits in it. Alright, so now we're going to do our first for loop. So for a for loop, we're going to go for, open parenthesis, we're going to create a variable x that equals 0. This is, as you can see, as Dreamweaver helped us with a little hint here, it's initiating it. Now we're going to write the condition. So as long as x is less than my array, we're going to use the dot length, and then one more semicolon, and then we'll say x plus plus. So that's our incremental. So we're going to do an open brace, end brace, and our action goes right here between the two braces. And so for everything from x equals 0, from 0 to array.length, and we did the array.length earlier, we know that's 5, so everything from 0, and if x is less than 5, so 0 to 4, it's going to print. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it should print everything. So let's document dot write my array. We'll say at the index of x. Let's give that a try. Refresh. So we do have each of the values in the array printed, but let's format it a little bit to make it a little nicer. We're printing the array length, we don't need to do that anymore up top here. And we're going to say, add a little HTML in here. So we'll start with a breakpoint, and we'll say fruit. Then we'll also continue to have our each array printed here. So for every every time we go through this loop, we're going to put a break, fruit with the semicolon, and then add the array element. Save that, give it another try. There we go. Fruit. Yep, all of our fruits are in, all of our values in the array have been printed. Well, that was a for loop. Now let's try a while loop. So for the while loop, let's start with creating a variable x that equals 1,000. Say while x is less than 2,000. Create our open and close brace. So here's our action. We'll say while it's less than 2,000, document dot write do break, and then x, and then we'll increment x by 1. So every time we go in the loop, we're going to go through this loop, we're going to increment x by 1. Mind you, we're starting at 1,000, so everything between 1,000 and that's less than 2,000, we're going to print the value. So let's go back to Chrome. There we go, 1,000. Scroll all the way down. You can see we're up to 1,999. So that was a while loop. Okay, now to create a custom function. So what we're going to do is create a function that returns the amount of feet that are in the miles inputted into our function. So let's start by declaring our function. Function, call it get feet, self-explanatory. Our parameter is going to be miles of our open curly brace. We'll close it right away so we don't forget. Let's make sure that a number is being pushed into this function, so we'll say if, use the isNan function, so is not a number miles. So if miles, which is pushed into this function, is not a number, we're going to alert, please enter a number. Else, so if it is a number, we're going to say variable feet is equal to miles. It's the miles that are entered into the function times 5,280. We're going to return feet. Then close the else statement. Perfect. So there's our custom function. Now let's actually prompt the user for miles and call our function. So variable miles equals prompt miles, no default value, and then document.write get feet. So there's our function call, and we're going to use the variable miles, so what the user enters into our prompt. So miles, because we have two open parentheses, we have to have two closed parentheses, and that should do it. So click save, refresh. There's our prompt. So let's first try typing in some characters. Alright, so we have our alert, please enter number. Cool, so let's try it again. And now let's say if we enter 6 miles, how many feet is that? 31,680. Cool, so there's our function.